My mission is for every woman to become her own success story. I believe we light the way for each other.
They say that when you make a decision and you decide, it's like cutting you off from every other option. And so you decided that you were going to be successful and nothing else was possible.
Everything is the meaning we give it.
Yes.
And give it a better meaning. If everything is the meaning we give it, why not give it a meaning that serves us?
When you are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it cuts off creativity.
Because we need to be in our most resourceful state. That's where we create from, right? We create from state. So before you start to create, before you begin to seek a solution, put yourself in a grounded, confident state.
You have to really, really pay attention to your energy and what works for you as you're like navigating this world of what do I really want?
Who's doing the strategy? You are. So we have to back that up and start at you.
There's a way to be all of you, to invite all the pieces of yourself to the table and to live your best life. And to do that now.
The magic is you. Be your own magic, which means taking inspired, aligned action to create your dreams.
Get ready to love everything I am. All I want to be and understand. 'Cause I won't dim my light for no one.
They told me I had to pick one thing. No. Diamonds are multifaceted, and so are we. It's about time we let all the parts of us shine. How can we climb out of the box and fully embrace our own authenticity? I'm Kara Lee, and it's time for the Multi-Passionate Mama podcast, where clarity and creativity go hand in hand. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Multi-Passionate Mama podcast. I'm so excited for you to hear today's episode. I have such an incredible guest, and I just know that this interview is going to inspire you and blow you away and leave you ready for so much more in your life. Today, I get to share with you this interview I did with Stacy Townsend. She is an executive coach, a speaker, an entrepreneur, and an investor. She believes that we were all born to be prosperous and thrive, and she founded Women Wired for Wealth, where she helps female entrepreneurs reconstruct and elevate their relationship with money so they can create the financial freedom that they not only desire but deserve. She's created a life of financial freedom through her 17 years of experience as a successful executive mindset coach and her success in building businesses and investing. She enjoys a fulfilling life where money flows, opportunities arise, and she has daily fun, adventure, and impact has become possible. Through her group coaching and online programs, she now helps other women do the same. She teaches financial skills, strategies, and most importantly, she teaches how to personally align with the energy and psychology of money flow so that they too can create their own rich lives, both inside and out. Stacy's on a mission for every woman to become her own greatest success story and to become a beacon of expanded possibility and financial freedom for every other woman around her. She believes that we light the way for each other. I'm so excited for you to hear from her because she is so inspiring and she was so much fun to talk to. Make sure that you check out her links, which are in the bio, but you can definitely go check out her website, womenwiredforwealth.com, and then you can sign up for her Mind Your Money to Millions live calls. They're free Zoom calls that she holds every 2 weeks where you get to put a spotlight on your relationship with money, ask questions, and walk away a little bit more abundant each and every session. Welcome, Stacy. I'm so excited to have you. I want to know more about how you got to where you are today and how all the things that you do that really light you up and how you've been able to really balance all the parts of you, bring your full self to the table and make it work with all of the supposed tos that life tends to hand us.
Yeah, it sure does. So that's a lot of questions all in one. But let's start with, I started in a very typical way. I grew up in a small town, Canada, with all of the shoulds, all of the beliefs, all of the conditioning that we're not even aware of at a younger age, growing up in very middle class, very, the middle of the prairies, I say, and where we're supposed to go to university or, get an education, get married, have kids, get the job, 2 weeks vacation a year in Mexico, like whatever it might be, somewhere beautiful, I'm sure. But all of those, we should. And I found myself following that path and financially doing much better than I ever thought possible. And I was bored, Carolee. I was so bored out of my mind, living in the suburbs of Vancouver in a relationship. And I was honestly just bored. And found myself in the corner office of, beautiful corner office, downtown Vancouver. I was falling asleep. I was literally falling asleep on a sunny day as the sun was coming in and doing what was very beautiful work that it started, but then it became very bureaucratic. It became very paper pushing, and it became very not me and not in alignment, right, with who I am.
Yeah.
But these conversations, I'm a bit older than you, these conversations didn't exist.
Yeah.
We're having today. And so I really appreciate that you show up on this podcast and help others ask the questions and find their way, because it didn't exist then. But what did exist was I found a yoga retreat off on some little hippy dippy island off of Vancouver. And all I knew was I'm not in alignment. And I didn't even know that word. All I knew was I wasn't being lit up, right? I
Yeah,
wasn't.
something like feels off in your body.
Yes, something felt terribly off. And that's all I knew. So I go to this yoga retreat, and this was like in 2002, I think. And I met somebody who called herself a coach. It didn't really exist 20 years ago, right? More than 20 years ago. It didn't really exist. So I didn't know, but she worked with Tony Robbins and she did this, and she's telling me, and she kept saying to me, Stace, you are such a coach. You are such a good coach. You need to be a coach. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay,
What
but
does
I
that
don't know what
mean?
what does that mean? And long story short, I did discover it. I did some research. I found a 2-year education because I come from education and the credibility in my mind. I needed this big education to do this. And I discovered coaching, and I love it. And I've never turned back. So for 17, more than that, years, being an executive coach, working around the world, working with large firms, working with small, everybody about transforming their minds and seeing what's possible. But it all couldn't have happened with, I have to tell you that. So started 2002, maybe it was then the summer of 2004, as I was ending that education, there was a course in Vancouver, the part of that education. And it's going to sound maybe a bit silly, but I discovered my inner joy through one of these exercises. And I literally was laughing and hopping, bouncing, skipping my way to work. Like it was just, wow. And I found it, and it just, everything clicked. And that's when nothing has been the same since, right? Everything has been a new creation since. And
That's
that's where I am.
amazing.
It really is. And it's fun to kind of go back to that time and remind myself.
Yeah. Can you tell us more about like discovering that inner joy and how you did that and how you help other people do that?
Yeah. It was one of the exercises it's called the Art and Science of Coaching, which has been many, many years at this school that I was part of, Erickson International. And it was an exercise which you'd be familiar with, I'm sure. The idea of going deeper. So if you had that, right? So what do you really want? And you say, I really want, whatever it might be, financial freedom, because that's what I work with now. Really want that financial freedom. I really want to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do. Why, right? So if you had that, what need would be met? What would be the need that would be met that's even deeper than that? And then, well, I like connection. Well, if you had that, right, that feeling of connection, friends, always being connected, what would that give you that's even deeper and more meaningful? And then we just keep going down and down, down, down until you hit that, and that's the core. And each one is going to be different, right? It was that particular question in that particular moment in time, but another query, right? Another going through that query might end with another answer where connection itself or making an impact or adventure might be the deepest for that particular query. But when I discovered that, right, that inner joy, the lens that you see the world through, everything changed because that the new lens, I saw everything through. I am joy. Joy is not outside of me. It's I am joy. So irrespective of external conditions, which will always be favorable, unfavorable, right? The conditions that exist outside of ourselves. But I am joy. I get to choose. I get to be, right?
That's so beautiful. Sorry, keep going.
Thanks. No, that's where it all starts. And then once you realize that, everything from all of who we are, right? We are our values. We are what's important to us. So I am, for instance, I am fun. I am connection. I am adventure. So I remember working with a client once many years ago with special needs adoption. And she was a foster parent, and she had the newborn was born with less special needs on the surface, and the other one was like a very highly special needs child, and that they fostered for years. And this child had no speech, had very little movement, and she was just a beam of light and energy and joy, and she just lit everybody up. So my client and the husband, right, this couple wanted to adopt her, and that's where I came in because I did special needs adoptions before I did what I do now. And the story is that she was so afraid of not being fun anymore because before becoming a parent, they rode Harley Davidson motorbikes and they drank wine and they did all these things. And she said, I used to be so fun and now I'm no longer fun. And that really saddened her. So long story short, once she discovered, right, our work together, she realized I am fun. I don't need a Harley Davidson to be fun. I'm fun. I don't need to be able to drink wine on every single night, whatever, to be fun. I am fun. And her whole, when we make a story about something and we're resisting and we're struggling with it, this story becomes so real, right? It becomes so tangible and real, and it sits right in front of us. And we see our entire world through that struggle. So I don't want to be not fun, right? I used to be fun. I don't want to not be fun anymore. That used to be her story. But once she realized, wait a minute, I'm fun. It's not the motorbike. It's not the wine. It's not this. I am fun. Everything changed. And her entire life became lit up again. So that's the type of work. That's what I'm doing.
I'm like, I could just like sit here and listen to you talk and just say nothing the whole time because that was so beautiful. I was like, oh, because I have got 3 kids with special needs, and it's like that's so poignant for so many moms who are like, oh, my life is totally different now because I'm now caring for other people. And that happens in careers, that happens in many
Yes.
different aspects of life where we feel like outside circumstances have now determined my personality and who I am. And it's all about the stories that we tell ourselves, and we have to choose a new story. We have to change that. But we
And
first have
I love that you just,
I was just gonna say we first have to be aware that we're telling that story, and that's where you come in and coaches come in. It's like being aware that we even have a story is essential.
I have exactly. I have two things to say about that. The first, your awareness of the story. Quite honestly, we, like Carly, we're in this world and we know that we have, different filters to the world, right? We know that we have beliefs, lens to the world that
Yeah.
give it meaning. We know that, but most people don't. And people listening here, once you discover this, it's life-changing. Like
Mhm.
it's completely life-changing because everything is the meaning we give it.
Yes.
And give it a better meaning. If
Mhm.
everything is the meaning we give it, why not give it a meaning that serves us, that
Yeah.
works for us? Yes, there are some universal truths, laws, gravity, right? And we also believe things like the law of resonance and the law of attraction and receiving it.
Yeah, reciprocity. Well, and what's true
And
about the
human
law of
reciprocity.
gravity, we defy the law of gravity all the time. I was just on an airplane defying the law of gravity. Just because you have, something you perceive as a cage doesn't mean that you can't fit between those bars and work around them. You have more power than you are allowing yourself to have in any
We have
given moment.
all of the power. So, as everything is the meaning we give it a good meaning. What meaning could I give this? And I always, start with if you and I can look outside, close your eyes, open your eyes. What meaning do I give it? Right? I could look at the desert. Oh, it's not a good example because I love everything. But somebody could look at the desert and think, oh no,
It's
let's
all
do
it's
rain.
all one color. I
Right? It's
wish it
all
had more colors to it. The sky
yes.
is gray, the sand is gray, everything's the same color. I wish it was multiple colors. I've driven through the desert a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And others can look at that, look at a desert and be amazed and right, be in awe of its beauty, of its vastness, of its
Mhm.
infinite
Well, and the truth
possibility.
is that it's gonna change. Give it
Yeah.
20 minutes and it'll be
Yeah,
different colors.
that's
I
right.
mean,
Oh, that too,
it doesn't
right?
stay the same. It's always gonna change.
Yeah. And that adds a whole nother layer
Mhm.
to it. But the first, everything is the meaning we give it,
Yeah.
right? So give it a new meaning. And the second is we can choose, right? We can choose. But in order to choose, it sounds so much easier said than done. And it's not difficult, right? It's simple, but it's not easy. Let's say it that way.
Yeah.
Because we know the brain works the way it works, or you can figure that out, but it takes concerted effort, right? It
Yeah.
takes focus. But
It's a
it's
lot of practice.
it takes practice. It takes practice, and it takes, quite honestly, how does the brain work? We've got the brain, we've got the mind, and then we
Mhm.
have our higher self, right?
Yeah.
That's how these
Oh, I
three,
love that.
it kind of makes sense. The brain, right? The biologic, the mind, how is the mind formed? And what does the mind mean? What does that even mean? And then there is our higher self, the spiritual self. And all three are us. It's all part of us, right? And I don't want to reject any part. They're all part of me. And how do I speak between those three? How do I speak between? How do I have conversations and use all of these parts in such a way that I am able to create that freedom and make those choices?
Hmm. Yeah, how do I navigate these different parts that each have their own needs? And how often are we rejecting parts of ourselves that have, I mean, we've got hungers and we've got, physical needs, and it's like, okay, I need to pee, and then we hold that off for like hours and hours and hours while we try to give other people what they need. And it's like, actually, you have
It's
to
so,
take
yeah,
care of those physical needs, but then we also have things like thoughts, and we try to, I don't know, so many times we think that our thoughts are us when they're actually just a part. They're like breathing. They're just a thing that the mind does, and we moralize them. We take them on as like, I'm a bad person because I had this thought, when they're just a thing that happens.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's so good. And it goes back to the thoughts we think are actually us. It goes back to here's the thought.
yeah,
There's the thought.
it's just a lens. It's just a biological process, and you get to choose if you want to keep it or
Yeah,
move it along.
yeah, exactly. Move it
Yeah,
along.
move it
Move
along.
it along.
So I'd love to, well, I actually wanted to ask you about what it was like to leave your corporate job and the fear behind that, because I know that that can be such a a difficult thing
Yeah.
for so many people to step into entrepreneurship and to break away from the safety and security of the corporate paycheck.
Well, I have to admit it was not difficult.
Mm,
No, I didn't go through any of that, but I'll tell you why. I, first of all, I was fortunate, very fortunate to really connect with that inner joy, right? Really connect
mm,
with, I love this. That combined with, I was really off the top, I was really good at it. And I knew that I was
mm.
really good at it. And I also, I mean, coaching has a very similar skills to, I was already teaching an 11-week course for the special needs adoption for Vancouver. I was the trainer, so I was already used to teaching, inspiring, assessing, doing a lot of those same skills. I was using solution focused counseling in my work. So there was a lot of things that a lot of experience, a lot of education, a lot of experience that I could bring forward.
Okay,
So
so you
my
had like a lot of confidence. You had a
sure.
lot of really self-assured, like, I'm in this because am really sure that I'm meant to be here. And I feel like so many people, and I bet you've seen this in your coaching, don't
Yeah.
have that level. And how do you help people through that when they don't feel like they can take that leap and trust in their own abilities?
Yeah. So I'll come back to that question. But yes, that number one, having that confidence. And another thing, I think a lot of people want to just jump ship and start
Mm,
a new business. And you just can't.
without a
The big,
bridge.
have a bridge, have
Yes.
a bridge. So either keep your job and start this as a side hustle. I
Mm,
started the coaching before I quit
yeah.
my work, right? I was already coaching. I was already making money. I was already proving to myself, demonstrating I
This
got this,
works. I got
right? This
this.
worked.
Mm,
And I had a lot of savings
mm.
because I'm good with money. I had a lot of savings. So, and I really want to emphasize when we are in a situation where we're struggling financially, if you're starting two things happen. One, really think it like strangles our creativity because we create from state. And if we're worried and struggling and stressed out about money, all of that wonderful, inspiring energy and juice and all that creativity that bubbles from below can't come out, right? I kind of think of the throat chakra and it's like, and I
Well,
need
and
to,
it's actually a literal like brain, like there's science behind that. When you are in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it cuts off creativity and financial trauma. I mean, gosh, have I lived through poverty trauma? I mean, that is a constant state of stress. That is cortisol constantly dripping into your brain. You're constantly in that state of fight, flight, or freeze, or, battling back and forth, like very like tenuously on the line, like that does cut off creativity. You have to be in that. You might have to remind me, is parasympathetic. That's the good one.
yes.
Yes, that's the good one. You need to be in that parasympathetic nervous system state in order to really be in the flow state and really be getting out the good stuff to the
Exactly.
world.
Exactly. And I like to just simply say, be grounded,
Yeah.
right? Like just 2 feet on the ground, boom, boom, right? And that's what I do with my clients. Always just start with that boom, boom, 2 feet on the ground,
Mhm.
just because we need to be in our most resourceful state. That's where we create from, right? We create from state. So before you start to create, before you begin to seek a solution, put yourself in a grounded, confident state first, right? So there's that first part of when we're stressed out and anxious about selling, we don't have anxious about finances. We don't have our most resourceful, our most creative part of us coming out to help others. The second part, which is related, is when we are in financial stress and we are working as an entrepreneur, right? Where people are buying us, right? They need to be able to say yes to us. When we're in financial stress, it comes across that energy of, I need you more than you need me. Well, my clients, right? Our clients need us to be sure, to be certain, to be grounded, to be confident, to have the strength, right? The strength and all of that to lead us, to guide us. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, many communities that we can be in online and so beautiful in so many ways, but I can pick them out every single time, the ones that are feeling
Desperate.
desperate.
Desperate is like it's an energy, it's a scent. It just like,
It is.
oh, you can feel it. And oh, it's
I know.
so,
And then they will stay in that cycle, right? They'll stay swirling in that cycle, which brings me to why I do what I do today. Because that's as soon as I came online, all my work before was offline, right? Meeting people, going to an event, meeting people and referrals offline for all of my companies, all the companies I had worked with. Everything was offline because it also started in 2002, which is a while ago. We did have computers, don't get me wrong. But
well,
this,
and
this,
today there's so many people who want to be offline, who are like,
yes,
please get me out of the social media game. How can I
yes,
thrive without
that's
it?
what,
So that's brilliant.
yeah, it is. And that's where was I saying with that?
That, yeah,
So
you serve people offline
yeah, so before
today.
I was serving people offline, exactly. But then coming online, I see, right? I'm in these communities where I see all the people that are these women that are so beautiful and so creative and so talented and with all of their heart want to help their clients, right? They want to make the world a better place. They want to help them and shine. They want to, their people, right? The people they're helping to shine. So my belief is we are all here to prosper and thrive. And what stops us is all that conditioning, et cetera, right? All of that, which we need to peel away. And my mission is for every woman to become her own success story first.
That's so beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that.
I believe we light the way for each other. So we need to become our own light first.
So talk to me more about how you do what lights you up with this business and everything else in your life. How do you be all of you?
What a fun question. I can see the look on your face. How do you be all of you? I love that. And it's such an important question because we do try, and I've gone. So now I'm giving you like nice highlight, right, of what it's like. But I had a period where so your question is, how do I be? The most important thing is that you be you, right? That you really personally align, right? That you alignment with who am I? And that first question of that awareness, of the awareness of what do I really want? Who am I? And an even better question to your point, what lights me up? Right? What really just is easy and lights me up? When I started coaching, very first started coaching, I became the school's kind of like their mascot. Like they would always lift me up, which helps, right? Because you also have the community, but they would just use me as this example of success because no matter where I was, right? They flew me to Australia. I'm from Vancouver. They flew me to Australia to do a teaching. And what do? I am in line at a Buddha restaurant. It's fantastic. This vegetarian restaurant on the rocks, wherever this was out of Melbourne. And I get a client, right, in line. So I'm in line, I get talking about what I'm doing. I fly to, right, as I was
He's
flying back.
magnetic, like wherever you
It is
go.
because I loved it and I so believed in what I was doing, and I do today, right? But it was so that inner focus, I didn't even think that I wouldn't be successful. It didn't cross my mind. So that was another point that I wanted to say before, how I could be successful, how I could leave that corporate job. I didn't know it wasn't possible. I didn't know I was taking a risk, to be honest. I didn't
Mhm.
know.
Well, and I
Like,
want to say something to this point. It's like they say that when you make a decision and you decide, it's like cutting you off from every other option. And so you decided that you were going to be successful and nothing else was possible.
yeah,
Like that is it.
it did. And it wasn't, and I didn't put energy. It like, when you're naturally believing something, like when you're just naturally something, it's you close your eyes, you open your eyes, and you see the world. And it just is. You don't have to have a mantra. You don't have to have an affirmation when it just is,
Mhm.
right? So there's a lot that we could unpack there and say another time, but that is part of it.
I love that. It's just a vision that you carry with you. And it's not an effortful
Right.
vision. It's just I see it. It's just
It
part
just
of me.
Yes. So when you really go inward and say, what does light me up? And of course, if it's a business, it has to serve the audience. So don't get me wrong. You can't just say, what lights me up and I'm going to go do it now. What education? How do I become really good at it? How do I practice, practice, practice? And building a business. Oh, building a business is not for everybody, right? Entrepreneurship is not for everybody. It's being sold as everybody can do this. It's not true, right? It's an external thing, right? So the point being, be honest with yourself, really align. And then of course you do the work. But to your point of it's
Mhm.
effortless, it's a lot of work, right? When I was building my company, and now that I'm rebranding and like yourself,
Yeah.
launching in this new direction, it's a lot of work, but it's effortless.
Yeah.
Does that make
Well, and
sense? Easy.
yeah, it makes sense
It's
perfectly
with
because
ease. It's not easy. It's with
yeah,
ease. Yeah.
it's about iterating. It's about you are learning more about how you can serve better and then iterating. So I've learned more and now I'm up leveling and now I've learned more so now I'm up leveling again. And it's literally, the opposite of perfectionism where it's not about failing, it's about learning and then being better and then learning and then being better and becoming the next best version of yourself over and over and over and over again.
To that point, that is a belief that I'm still working on, right? So I don't have it all together in every single way. Absolutely not. And that is the one belief that I'm still working on because when you've had success, so it starts with I was in alignment and it came easily. Not, no, it came effortlessly. It was hard. Like I was working 18-hour days,
Yeah.
but I loved it, right?
Yeah.
I had enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a superpower.
Oh yeah.
That is my superpower. I am so enthusiastic and excited. And when I am, right, when all of that's in alignment, it was effortless, right? A lot of work, but effortless. And when it's not, it's really hard. And that's why going inward and saying, that first question of who am I and what is it that I really want? And the willingness to learn, how do I do business? Like, how do you create a business? So that's where I am now, is creating an online business. I don't have all the answers. I am going to, right? So another key to success is looking for teachers, right? Who can I learn from? Podcast, right? I don't yet have a podcast. I'm watching you. Carrie, I'm watching you. So being open to learning and
Yeah. Well, and
this is
what's interesting about the whole like learning from teachers and so many teachers are teaching like, "Oh, there's this one way that I did it and it worked for me." And that's amazing. And like I'm all about learning from everyone. But you have to recognize that just because one person did it one way doesn't mean that their one way will work for you.
yeah,
You have to learn that those ways exist, try them on like an outfit, and then see if it looks good on you. Like, see if that fits you, if it suits you. And that might mean launching it, watching it fail, and then pivoting. And
yeah,
that happens a lot
it
in
happens.
entrepreneurship where you're like, oh, you know what? That didn't suit me. And
Yeah,
maybe that doesn't mean that it totally crashed and burned. Maybe it even like went really well. You just oh, it just sucked the life out of you.
Yeah.
But you have to really, really pay attention to your energy and what works for you as you're like navigating this world of what do I really want,
Yeah.
as you were saying.
Yeah. And that's so good that you brought that up, for everybody to listen to, that it's not, if we start at what strategy should I take? What do I need to do? So here, I want this vision,
Yeah.
and this is what I need to do. If we start at learning from the strategies, if that's our starting point, we're setting ourselves up for a lot of struggle. Let's back up. And who is the operator of the action? Who's doing the strategy? You are. So we have to back that up and start at you.
Hmm.
Because you are the operator. So the way you're thinking, what works well in your thinking, right? What moves you forward, what gets you stuck, what keeps you small, and do that inner work. And then the strategies, then the right strategies will align. And like you said, give it a try. Not me. Or yeah, I think I could do a little bit more of this. Or we begin to be able to take all these different strategies and pick and choose and kind of create our own little cocktail that works for
Yeah.
us. But that's only going to work if you are honest with yourself. You do the inner work and are honest with yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so important is that you are creating a business that works for you and for your life. Like, this is your creation. You're not sticking yourself into somebody else's box. You are creating this for you and for your life and whatever that looks like. Like, I know that you are super multi-passionate and you love to travel, and it's like your business gets to fit into that life, not
Mhm.
vice versa. You're not stopping all travel so you can sit home in one place and do everything. You are changing your life to fit that,
Yeah.
or you're changing your business to fit your life, is
Yes.
what I meant to say. So talk more about like how what some of your other passions are. Like, I know we were talking about traveling and different like hiking
Sure.
and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and to your point of when you build a life, right? When you create a life in alignment. So first of all, why would we do that? Seems like a silly question, but
Right.
why would we do that? Why would we think that that's possible? So for me, I have a very compelling belief that irrespective of what our religious beliefs are or our philosophical beliefs, irrespective of any of that, one Stacy on this earth, right? I don't know if I'll come back. I mean, who's to say whether there's an end or another beyond, whether there's reincarnation, like irrespective of all those beliefs, Stacy, this Stacy, once I got one shot. That's it. And that is so important to me. And that is, I mean, it's just, we have one shot, make it good. Because what keeps us small is that the conditioning, the shoulds, the brain, or not the brain, but the mind that we give it, right? What we fill the mind with. And
You're
we
here, you
know,
may as well enjoy it.
just enjoy it and make it a better place,
Yeah.
right? If we would just enjoy and make it a better place, because by making it a better place, of
It helps
course,
you
it's
enjoy it.
and the serving and everybody lifts, just those two guiding principles. And, if I can build a business that fits my life, like that is part of, it doesn't fit my life, and I'll explain that in a minute, but that build a
It's
business
integrated. It's
that's integrated.
integrated because one thing that is true is that we really try hard to compartmentalize our lives, especially when we have like, oh, I go to work and then I come home and I do this and then I go do this, and we try to separate everything in our lives. And that's actually part of like our neurology as we're growing up, as we try to, okay, a dog has four legs and fur, and what makes that different from a horse? Let me figure out how to separate red from yellow. And like that's literally our biology, is how our brain operates, is we try to stick things into boxes. But all of the parts of ourselves are integrated. We can't leave our business at work and then come home and be different. It's all part of who we are. And so that's why doing what lights you up at work, you bring it home. It changes how you interact with the people around you. It changes how you treat your kids. It changes how you
Every,
show up everywhere.
yeah, yeah, it's the ripple effect. I always use this example or this illustration of a life, like a life wheel. I'm sure you've heard like a circle and all these different wedges to this wheel, right? Or this circle, the pie, like a pie piece. And there's work and there's um, friends, there's philosophy or religion, like whatever it might be, finances, like all of these different areas, exercise, health, all of these. And to your point, most people, because that's how we were raised, will take this life wheel and say work, life, balance, work, life, balance. So they are dividing the two and saying you have work and you have life. And many people say, I go to work so I can play on the weekends. So I can, I make the money so I can go play here. Or you work until you retire and then you enjoy retirement. So mine, obviously, I do not believe this. I take this circle and I put you in the center, right? The person is in the center. It is me, right? So when we do a drawing on the board, big circle, little stick person, happy in the middle. And I am me in everything. So I look at each of these wedges. Each wedge is a vehicle for me to express who I am in the world, for me to be me and experience me in the world. Me, meaning my values, who I am. So I am fun, play, adventure, contribution, connection, for instance, right? Creativity. This is who I am. And in my friends realm, this is how I get to show up. In my career realm, work, business, it is a vehicle for me to be me. So my work just becomes a part of an expression of me and my values. So
Absolutely.
when you asked before about my other interests, the hiking, the traveling, all of these fun things, sailing, this is my life. And all of it is showing up. It all works together because it is together. It's all me. And on a practical level, what does that mean? On a practical level, that means that I don't take any meetings until 12 noon because my mornings are by the ocean, running, walking, hiking,
Mm,
coffees, whatever, or thinking, creating. So that's one example of I don't do that. Another example is, I do 3 or 4 hours a day. Unless I'm doing something big like a creative, then of course I can do the 12-hour days. But and flying, we don't fly on Friday afternoons because we also invest in the stock market and Fridays are option expiry days, which is a whole nother topic. But so we're very active in the stock market and the trading platforms on Friday afternoons. So we don't fly on Friday afternoons. We might be sitting in a cafe in Paris. We might have to take the laptop and go sit so we can do the trading. But
yeah.
that's just an example of creating the life around you.
Yeah.
And and previous, I know I have the freedom. I have more freedom because I have less responsibilities. But I do have many people in my life and clients and friends who, irrespective of the circumstances, for all of us, irrespective of whatever circumstances we think might stop us from creating a life of freedom, adventure, joy, whatever that might be that we want to design, we have to know that it's possible, that it is not the circumstance, the condition external to us that determine. To go back to what our parents used to say, where there's a will, there's a way,
Yeah. There's
right? And
always a creative solution.
yeah,
There's always a way. I thought for so long that like, oh, I'm a mom now, that's it. That's it for my dreams. That's it for everything I ever wanted in my life. And then I heard about podcasting and I was like, oh, all my dreams of being a speaker, maybe that's possible now. And so I started my podcast and I learned how to produce my own album, and somehow I have a studio here in my basement and I write custom songs from home. And it was like, wait a minute, there's a way to be home with my kids and write music and be a speaker. And it was like, oh, there is a way. And it just took me, a decade to figure out how to make that possible. And it's like, there's a way to be all of you, to invite all the pieces of yourself to the table and to live your best life. And to do that now, it's possible, and you might have to find a creative solution that's never been done before. That might be a thing, but it's possible to show up and to build your business around your life.
And to your point, if you believe it's possible, you don't need to know the how to get started, right? And in fact, don't. And back to the point of we create from state.
Yeah.
So if you are in an inspired, excited, enthusiastic, where you believe it is possible. I don't know how, but it is possible. The question is, how might this be possible? How might this be possible? How could I be doing this? What are the many ways, invite the brain using intelligent, skillful questions, not an either or. Is this possible? Yes, no. We want to ask, what are the multiple ways, right? What are the multiple possibilities? What are the multiple ways that I could make this happen? To brainstorm and get the brain firing. And whatever we ask our brain, whatever we ask of ourselves, our brain will give us the answer. So we have to be very, very mindful of what we're asking it.
Yeah. Well, and I also invite everyone to maybe work on figuring it out for 10 minutes or whatever, but then let it rest.
Yes.
And give yourself space for the intuition to flow, and go just do something fun, like go for a walk. I mean, one of my favorite things ever is just going to a movie by myself. Like just going and being at peace and going and resting, and that you'll be all the ideas flow when I'm in the shower. That's when they come. You have to allow the space, and that's when those ideas and the creativity and the intuition often really start flowing, is when you stop trying to force your brain to figure it out.
Exactly. And it's very good. You reminded me, my first teacher, her name was Marilyn. She's 85, late 80s now. My coach trainer who trained with, Milton Erickson, the inspiration for NLP, neuro linguistic programming. She trained with Milton. And she's one of the founding mothers of all of this. Yeah, she's really cool. And she believed in me. So that's another thing, having somebody take you under their wing, believe in you. But one thing that she taught us was, especially when you come from university, I wish I would have known this before, but being an academic and, studying and just having to write down every word and not want to miss anything, and you're writing everything down and stressed out and oh, I missed that. She said, everybody papers down. She taught us how to mind map, right? So the shortcut for mind mapping. And aside from that, she said, be present when we're learning. Be present, because it will go in. Because state, right? So create a grounded, calm state where you're interested, you're curious, and you're interested, and be present. And then at night, before you go to sleep, invite your subconscious to gently integrate what you've learned during the day. And I know it sounds, some people will go, whatever, that's a bit silly, or that's not going to work. Carolee, it worked. I'm an academic, I was serious top student in university, serious. I was very driven. This was before I discovered coaching, remember? So I was very this, and always top 2 in university, in classes. I was very driven, and I would write 4 10-page essays before a final exam, memorize them, and go in and write them. So yes, I had to have the comprehension for it. So of course I had to comprehend and understand to write this brilliant essay, but then I memorized them word for word, everything. So that was me. And then I discovered coaching and this whole education of how to use the brain differently. And Marilyn's that advice, I thought, but I trusted her. I believed maybe this is possible. I'm going to give this a try. And it worked. So from then on, when I go to seminars, when I go to, anything like this, big conferences, and people, you're not taking notes. I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah, yeah. It's going in because I'm present. I'm understanding it and then letting the brain integrate it in my sleep. It's one of the most clever things I'd ever heard.
It's amazing. We seriously underestimate the power of presence and the power of our brains, truly. Like when we are fully present, how much we are really soaking in
Mhm.
because we really will integrate it. I've never been a note taker. I'm generally one of those people who's like, yeah, I don't need notes. I'm just gonna listen. And like, actually, of course,
Yeah.
my degree was in like makeup and costume design, so it's not really a hands-on notes kind of thing. But
True.
that's incredible and such a powerful message because we need to be more present in every area of our
Mhm.
lives, not just in high learning environments, but with our families, with, our walks through nature, with, our businesses and with every aspect of our lives and like how much more fulfilled our lives will be when we slow down a little and are so much more aware of what's happening.
When we're present to it and listening to you there, I'm reminded of, right, here we are in this conversation together, fully present. And
Yes,
that gift to each other, right? That I feel you are present with me. And that's magnetic,
it
right?
is. It's my favorite thing about podcasting is being in these interviews and being present because there's how many other times in our lives are we like really fully present one-on-one with somebody? Because usually when we're in a group, when we're talking with people, we're multitasking or we're on our phones or we're eating food or we're dealing with kids. We've got all sorts of other things going on. But when I'm doing this with you, like that's the only thing I'm doing. And
Yeah.
sadly, there's not many other moments in my life where I'm like really 100% just
Yeah.
in it with somebody. And that's how podcasting has changed my life. So if I can encourage you to start your podcast,
Oh, I will. I
oh
will.
my gosh,
True.
it's
It's
like
true.
the number one reason where I'm like, everyone needs to have a podcast just to talk to each other. It's like the new social media. Like this is how we be social with each other on the deepest level because we're not connecting anymore. I could get on my
But that,
soapbox there.
but I love it. And that's true. And back to your founding question of what lights you up.
Yeah.
So the same for me with coaching. I am fully present and my client gets it
Mm,
and I get it every time after a session or like whatever type of session it might be.
yeah.
He always looks at me and just smiles and he goes, "You are just so happy. Like you are just lit up in that." And that was using the word lit up for many years. And
Yeah.
it's true. So, and when I took a break, like just a little brief sidebar to circle back to something we had said before, I also had a period of this word unalignment,
Yeah.
right? So when I started the
Misalignment.
coaching, I was fully misalignment, unalignment, I think, yeah, whether it's a word or not, but when I started the coaching, it was super successful, right out of the box, doubled my first year corporate income,
Wow.
six figures over 20 years ago, or 20 years ago, whatever that was. Like it was,
Wow.
and continuing to be. And then I took a break and I became externalized. I began to externalize. As I started to come into the online world, I made it more about what do I need to do, comparing myself,
Mm,
the death of you, right? But I went through it and I had to bring myself back to what I know to be true. And once I let myself come back to what I know to be true from all my experience before and all my education, my experience as a coach, my experiences through life, I found my way back. And then now I really know what it feels like when people say, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, like I don't know, I'm struggling. I had not felt it before. And
mm.
now I know exactly what happens and how to bring back.
Yeah.
So
Had to come back home.
Hey, it's come back home. Yeah.
Ah, and coming back home, you know what? It first of all, it feels so good. It feels
Mhm.
so good, but you can't know how good it feels without the contrast.
Yeah.
And so there is so much value and so much beauty in the contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. And going through that struggle has made me appreciate. Well, I always did. Like, I'm a very grateful, appreciative person, but it takes it to that next level
Yeah.
when you have had that experience.
Mm,
And it makes
yeah.
me a much better coach, right? It makes me a
Yeah.
much better person to help others now that I've been through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this has been amazing, and I'm so
Oh, thanks,
grateful for
David.
you. So as we wrap up, I'm hoping you'll tell our audience where we can find you and about your group and your website and all the places we can come learn more about you and what you do.
Thank you. And I welcome all of you wonderful women. It's the website is womenwiredforwealth.com.
Beautiful.
Isn't that fun? Women
Yeah.
Wired for Wealth. Yeah, I love it. And the so every 2 weeks I do a session, Mind Your Money to Millions, where we just put a spotlight on you, on your relationship with money and how to learn both the strategy and what am I thinking? The strategy of finances, as well as, and more importantly, the psychology and the energy. But
Mm,
psychology and energy is 90% of it. It's all
yeah.
mindset, right? It is.
Yeah.
But that 10%, really important. We
Yeah.
can't just meditate our way to wealth. Money is a very tangible tool that we need to figure out, right? We have a relationship with it and our worth. There's that whole side.
Mm, yeah.
What is possible for us and what we believe is, what we believe isn't. So there's that side of it, which is the core, 90% of it. But that other 10%, the strategy of it is you
It's
need it.
essential.
It's
Yeah.
essential, right? Like, how do
It's
I actually allocate my resources? How do I actually build a business? Because being online, you've seen many people claiming, seven-figure businesses, but they don't have anything
because
because
they're
they're
spending it all and
exactly.
yeah, it's easy to see how like I mean, the time like simple little mistakes can just be completely detrimental. But then like our relationship with money is really just like I want to say it's a microcosm for every other relationship we have in our lives, but I am iffy about saying microcosm when it is a reflection of everything else. Like it's like a macrocosm. Like it's like so important.
It is. It is. And I love that you say the microcosm, but how I see it as well is it's the doorway. So we
Hmm.
work with your relationship with money to reconstruct and elevate that relationship. So we
Yeah.
rewire. But that rewiring, when we understand that we have the brain, the mind, and the higher self, the neural pathways, yes, we can create new neural pathways. And it takes a lot of energy to do that. And most importantly is, how do I learn to communicate between these three parts? Because our biology is going to react, because that's what we do, as you said before, right? Fight, flight, freeze,
Yeah.
fawn. We react, and we need to learn how to respond, right? How to create that space between me and the thought. What can I think instead, right? What can I do instead? Think instead, do instead. Our thoughts create our thoughts and feelings, right? Our thoughts initiate that feeling, which creates an action.
Yeah.
So, one thing I really want to drive home for people to really understand, because we need to be honest with ourselves
Yeah.
at this point. We don't get what we want in life, right? We can dream, we can
Mm,
want, but it's more than this. We don't get what we want. And others have said, we don't get what we want, we get what we are. But there's more of a nuance here, because I see so many people women in particular, because you're right? These are my orbit because I'm focused on women.
Yeah.
There are many women saying they believe in these wonderful things about the universe, about this is possible for me. I believe I'm worthy. I believe this is possible. They believe all these things. They're like, I believe it. And yet their results aren't there. So be honest with ourselves and say, this is what I want to believe. How do I close the gap between what I currently, who I am, my wiring, and what I want to believe?
How
Because
do
if we,
I how do I make it safe to believe that?
and that's another point. Yeah. Yeah. But to that point of it, just starting point of we fool ourselves. We fool ourselves,
Oh yeah.
right? We're convincing ourselves that, oh, I believe that. I believe that. But yet our results aren't changing. So please know that there's a gap between what you want to believe and what your subconscious, your
Yeah.
conditioning really is wired. And that's where we can close the gap. That's where we can close the gap between those two. That's where we can, our higher self, when we really get aware of who she is, who we are, right? Who we just are naturally. And how do I connect to that part of myself more often, right? Every day, how do I connect? When I'm triggered over here, right? The ego part, the brain part, when I'm triggered, where do I feel that in my body as a signal? What do I insert instead? All of these actual things that we can do, right? Strategically, we can do. So it's not externalizing the power, right? When I hear people say the universe is your sugar daddy, I heard, right? The manifest, right? Let's
Yeah.
manifest it. The universe, it's the answer. Just ask the universe and the universe will deliver. That's not how the universe works. You are the universe, right?
Yes.
But bring it home. We are all the universe. We are
Mm,
the, right? We sprout up as Stacy, as Carolee is, everybody, it's like from the earth, we go, or from the
yeah.
cosmos into this being. And we are the universe. The magic is you.
Yes.
You are the magic.
But we're all blocking it in so many ways,
Girl,
and yet
yes.
we are lying to ourselves and going, "No, I don't think I am." And what I've learned over the last, I mean, years, but like especially the last, I don't know, months, it's been really intense. Like there are so many layers, and we are not really understanding how many layers deep that it really goes. And it really is in working with somebody like Stacy that you can start to go, oh my gosh, I didn't see that layer.
Yeah.
I just ignored it. I ignored all the signs that that layer was there. And I really needed to uncover that layer to feel the freedom that was always meant for me.
It's true. It's true. That is always meant for you. We
Yeah.
are born to be prosperous and thrive, right? What is true about the universe is it is growth, right?
Yeah.
It conspires for our expansion, for our growth. That's what this is. So tune into that, be your own magic, which means taking inspired, aligned action to create your dreams. And it's all possible. There's so much wealth and possibility and abundance already swimming all around us. But our brain can only see what our brain sees. And
Mm.
we have to change that. Put
And
on the new lens. I love
yes,
this. I love these glasses.
they're so beautiful.
Yeah. So
Thank you
Stacy
so.
dot Townsend
Yes.
dot www. So Stacy, Stacy dot Townsend dot www is the Instagram and the Facebook. I'm going to be coming back to LinkedIn because there are so many women there as well that I can connect with wonderfully. And Twitter, I'm going to give that a try. And there you go,
Sounds,
womenwiredforwealth.com. And
sounds
Mind Your Money to
amazing.
Millions sessions. I invite everybody free. They're free. And as you can hear, I give not just the woo and the fluff, which is very important, but making it real, making it tangible.
I love it. This has been so incredible. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Multi-Passionate Mama podcast. I know that we can never be told too many times how amazing we are, so in case you haven't been told today, you are a freaking rock star. When you let yourself shine, you allow other people to take off their filters and shine brightly too. It's about time someone gave you permission to be all of you. If you enjoyed this show, please leave me a review and hit that subscribe button. I know you want more of this. Sharing is caring. Let someone you love know how incredible they are by texting them the link to this episode. They will feel so good just knowing that you thought about them. Lastly, if you want to know more about my courses and coaching, be sure to check out my website for up-to-date details on everything I have available. It's caroleegarrison.com and the link is in the show notes. Always remember that you are a diamond. Don't let anyone dim your sparkle.